The Republicans are losing their minds over Greg Ballard, and it is fascinating to me. Let's get into it. It's Rob Kendall Show. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us. By the way, before we talk about all this Greg Ballard drama, you guys, I got to say this. You guys have been amazing. Outstanding. Could not have asked from you guys for a better first week so far. 1,400 subscribers already. People are in this business, social media business. One guy yesterday was like, how did you do that? I said, because my people are awesome. And you guys are. And you've been great. And so we got to keep it up. Tell your friends about what we're doing. You are the marketing arm of the Rob Kendall Show. So tell your friends, share this feed. Tell people right now, if you're on, just hit the share button. Say, hey, go listen to Rob. We're going to grow organically. We're going to grow together. And we need you. But I wanted to start today's program by thanking you for the outstanding job that you have done this past week, helping us grow the Rob Kendall Show. There's no more loyal group of people, nobody that I would rather be here with. And I wanted to say thank you for Jason as well, from the very, very bottom of our hearts. Again, like, share, and subscribe, Rob Kendall Show. All right, so let's talk about the big story in Indiana politics and government. And this was the response to former Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard announcing that he was running for Indiana Secretary of State as an independent. This came out yesterday. Now, on Monday, we had reported this poll from Independent Indiana back in November was just released this week. We had reported, today's Thursday, I'm sorry, it was Tuesday that we'd reported this poll coming out from Independent Indiana showing that if former Indianapolis Mayor, Republican Mayor Greg Ballard got in the race as an independent, he was uber competitive. He totally was pulling votes from Diego Morales, the Republican incumbent, and it showed Bo Bai, the presumed Democrat nominee, Morales, the Republican incumbent, which, by the way, there's no guarantee Diego Morales is going to be the nominee. The best thing for the Republicans now, with Ballard likely in the race, would be if he's not. But it showed Morales in second, and then Ballard not too far behind in third place. That was on Tuesday. Then yesterday morning, early, 7 a.m., big announcement comes out on Twitter. Greg Ballard says he's running for Secretary of State as an independent. And, oh my gosh, the Republicans lost their minds. This is fascinating. And the overarching theme of what we're about to talk about is how politics brings out the worst in people. The absolute worst. It's one of the reasons I got out was because I knew if I stayed in and continued to elevate that I was going to drop down of a stroke or a heart attack before the age of 35 because it was complete personal misery being around people who I viewed as highly fraudulent, disingenuous, hypocritical. It was all about them. It was all about the shield. It was all about protecting the club. It was almost never about the people. And I think that's what you saw yesterday rear its ugly head is the worst in people. So let me tell you what I'm talking about here. So when Greg Ballard was the mayor of Indianapolis from, let's see, he was elected in 2007, so 2008 to 2015. The public was told by the Republicans, both Governor Mitch Daniels and then Governor Mike Pence, under Governor Mitch Daniels and Governor Mike Pence, the Republican Party in Indiana lifted Greg Ballard up as some sort of golden example. I would say golden child, but he was probably in his 50s when he was elected mayor. So not golden child, but golden example. Greg Ballard is the way our party should be. Greg Ballard is what we need. We need more Greg Ballards. A Republican who can win in a blue city. That's the big tent we're talking about here in the Republican Party. And at the time, some of us said, well, okay, he's doing better than the guy before him. He certainly did better than the guy after him, although we didn't know that at the time. But we said, look, there's a lot of these issues where Ballard's pretty liberal. And some of these things, the Blue Indy, the Cricket Stadium, some of these things feel like kind of unaccountable government that costs a lot of money that aren't what government's supposed to be doing. And you know what the Republican Party said to us, the conservatives? No. You sit down and you sit in a corner. How dare you go after Greg Ballard? Greg Ballard is the Republican Party. He's what we should all strive to be. We need more Greg Ballards in the Republican Party. And that's what we were told over and over and over again. The Republican Party was a big tent. You had to let the liberals in. They were the new path forward. A Republican that could win in a blue city. And some of us would say at the time, well, what are we really winning if he's going to govern like a big government liberal? And we were told it doesn't matter. That is the path forward. So fast forward to yesterday, in which the Republican Party, in a matter of a few hours, and by the way, I've never heard anyone turn on Greg Ballard in the it's been more than 10 years now, since he's been mayor of Indianapolis. Can you guys believe that? We've been stuck with Joe Hogsett for 10 years now. How are we all still here? I don't know. Point is, though, in the 10 years since Greg Ballard left as mayor of Indianapolis, whether he moved to Whitestown, which he did, whether he moved to South Carolina, Myrtle Beach, which he did, I've never heard anybody say a disparaging word about Greg Ballard. Never heard people call him a sellout. Never heard people talk about how liberal he was. Never did people call him a carpetbagger. None of that. None of that. By the way, we're going to talk about the hypocrisy of the Republicans being on Greg Ballard moving to South Carolina in just a second. None of that. Point is, not a disparaging word about Greg Ballard. Until yesterday. That announcement came down shortly before 7 a.m., and I would say by 8:30, the haymakers were flying from the Republicans. They were getting the marching orders. They were getting the talking points. A guy who for almost 20 years had been the gold standard of what the Republican Party should be. Now, of course, the Republicans, as you've seen with me, they only want a big tent if it's the liberals coming in. If you're a conservative and you speak out, and how many times have we seen this? You get shut down. Like me. You get uninvited from the Lincoln Day dinner. When the Republicans talk about a big tent or big ideas or a variety of ideas, diversity, they're talking about more liberal people coming in. More people who don't actually share the beliefs of what the Republicans espouse, but they want their money and they want their votes. But in an hour and a half's time, the Republican Party went from 20 years of Greg Ballard as the gold standard of the big tent, the red guy who could win in the blue city that we should all strive to be, to basically insinuating America's Most Wanted should be called. He's a liberal. He was for big government. He was for this thing and this thing. And I'm sitting here watching going, oh, suddenly everyone's come to the party. The exact things that people like me were saying when he was mayor. Look, Greg Ballard did some good things. Again, as I said, if the standard was Bart Peterson or Joe Hogsett, Greg Ballard was great. I think we should be better than just exceeding Bart Peterson or Joe Hogsett. By the way, compared to Joe Hogsett, Bart Peterson was outstanding. You look at where the city was under Peterson and people said that was unacceptable. Think about Peterson compared to Hogsett. Point of all this, though, is that Greg Ballard, the things I saw Republicans ripping on Greg Ballard for yesterday, were the exact things that I was told I had to sit down and shut up about for well over a decade. That I didn't get it. Conservatives didn't get it. We didn't understand. This is the guy. This is the way. And all of a sudden, once he threatened the shield, once he threatens the cabal, once he threatens to take down the Republicans holding the Secretary of State's office, which, don't kid yourself, Greg Ballard is a tremendous threat to the Republicans keeping that Secretary of State's office. If he gets in on the ballot, the Republicans probably lose, especially if Diego Morales is the candidate. And they know it. The Republicans know it. They know there is no defense for Diego Morales. And they know once the buy machine and how 10 million, 12 million, whatever Bo buy is going to raise, gets a hold of Diego Morales with ads running across the state of Indiana, he's done. It's all over. Buy might be able to beat Morales on his own. But if you've got a third party in there who is, let's face it, probably pulling far more from the Republican than the Democrat, it's over. So in an hour and a half's time, the Republicans went from this guy's the gold standard. You criticize him, you don't get it, sit down and shut up. He's a red mayor in a blue city. That's what we need. To he's the worst guy ever. Look at all the big government he was for. Look at all these projects he did. It is another glaring example. People always say, why are you so mean to the Republicans? This is why. Because they don't believe in anything. They don't believe in anything other than their own power and protecting their shield, no matter how rotten that shield is. No matter who the person is, they will protect them. They're the mafia. Government is the mafia. So that's the first thing. Then the Republicans started on Greg Ballard's residency. And this is just the creme de la creme of hypocrisy from these people on multiple fronts. So Greg Ballard in 2021, long after being the mayor of Indianapolis, decided, like many people nearing retirement age, that he was going to move to South Carolina. He moves to Myrtle Beach. By the way, owned a radio station near Myrtle Beach. If you can afford to do it, it's a fine place. It's a fine place. And compared to some of the other places, a somewhat reasonable cost of living compared to some of the other vacation area type destinations or retirement type destinations. But that's neither here nor there. Greg Ballard decides he's moving to Myrtle Beach. Okay, fine. Nobody says a word about it. Nobody says, "Oh, what a traitor, what a backstabber, what a loser." He goes and he moves. Stays there for a couple of years. Like so many other people of his age, he decides, I kind of miss Indiana. Kind of miss home. I'm moving back. How many people do you know who have multiple homes? I have a very, very good couple of friends who, they're still business owners in Indiana. They're still active in the community in Indiana. They live half the year in Florida. Why? Because that's a common thing that people of retirement age do. And you know why they come back here to Indiana? Because they miss it. That's their technical home. Greg Ballard decides after a couple years in South Carolina, he's moving back to Indiana. Now, I believe, according to Ballard, this was in the spring of 23. So he was basically gone for 2 years. Now, keep in mind, Greg Ballard was I don't know if he was necessarily a lifelong Hoosier, but he was an ingrained Hoosier. He'd been the mayor of Indianapolis. He had lived here afterwards. And for a brief period of his life, he moved to another state. He then moved back. It's 2023 when he moves back, spring of 23, according to Ballard. That's 3 years ago. So he's been back here for 3 years, where he spent much of his life already, including being a decorated member of the U.S. military. The Republicans then hop on this like it's some sort of gotcha. Oh, look at this carpetbagger. Look at this guy who bailed on Indiana. Look at, you can't trust him. The same guy who was just the gold standard not all that long ago. Now you can't trust him. Now, what's fascinating to me is, and I saw multiple people doing this, the most prominent one was Andrew Ireland, state rep, Republican state rep from Indianapolis, who was implying that potentially Greg Ballard might have done something illegal and it needed to be looked into. Potentially, I guess, voting illegally. I don't even know what he was trying to insinuate. Ballard then quickly addresses this on Twitter, goes, no, this is when we moved back. This is how long we were gone. And this is when I voted. Case closed. Yet we somehow went in a couple hours' time from gold standard to somebody better alert unsolved mysteries to get into this. That's the Republican Party. Now, the hypocrisy of all of this, for these people demanding to know about Ballard's voting record, about his living whereabouts, is that the Republicans' own guy, Diego Morales, and by the way, James Briggs, a couple years ago, wrote a very fabulous expose on this, did a deep dive. By the way, speaking of Briggs, he's going to be with us tomorrow to talk about, he's got a new column out today about this issue, talk about the article he wrote in 22. I believe it was 2022 when he wrote the article. Diego Morales, when he was running for Congress in 2018, because, of course, Diego desperately wanted to be a politician. The office was somewhat irrelevant. You guys remember this? Diego was going to run for Secretary of State, and then he realized he couldn't beat Connie Lawson. So then he decided he wasn't running for Secretary of State. Then he decided to run for Congress. He lost. And then he saw an opportunity with Holly Sullivan, Holcomb's pick, being vulnerable, so he ran for Secretary of State again. The guy wanted to be in office. He didn't care about which office it was. And look, credit to Diego. He has proof that if you believe it long enough and strong enough, you can pull it off. If you want something bad enough, if you want power bad enough, and you're willing to, if you have no shame whatsoever, no sense of service to the people whatsoever, if your service to self is that strong, you can pull it off. Anyway, Briggs wrote a big article about this. You can go back and read it over at Indy Star, and we'll talk about it with him tomorrow. Which in 2018, Diego Morales voted in a county different from where he took his homestead credit. I believe his homestead credit, which is where you live, right? That's your primary residence. When you guys, when you pay your property tax, you get the homestead credits, a deduction on your taxes. That's only valid on your primary residence, the residence where you live. I believe his primary residence was in Marion County, his homestead credit, Marion County. Somebody voted in Hendricks County. Why? Because Hendricks County was in his district. How did that happen? Where were the Republicans then or now demanding an investigation or a resignation or anything else into how Diego Morales voted in a county different from where he took his homestead credit? You haven't heard a peep about that. Oh, sure. Unsolved mysteries, the ghost of Robert Stack. You guys better get on figuring out where Greg Ballard voted and when and where he was living. But this guy, it's there in black and white. Voting in a county different from where he took his homestead credit. And not a word about it. No demands of investigation, nothing. The hypocrisy of these people. The hypocrisy of them. Let's talk about issue number 2. Greg Ballard moves to South Carolina. Okay. Fair game. He moves back. I guess if that's your gotcha moment, okay. It's the guy who's, well, I don't think he's a lifelong Hoosier, but essentially is a lifelong Hoosier for all intents and purposes. Goes somewhere for a couple of years and moves back. And that's their outrage. The only problem is Indiana has a senator, or had a senator, who not that long ago did the exact same thing. You guys remember Dan Coates? Dan Coates, he was a senator, then stopped being a senator because I believe it was he didn't want to lose to Evan Bayh when Evan Bayh became a senator. And then Evan Bayh decided he wasn't going to run again because of the anti-Obama wave in 2010. You guys remember this? And so then Dan Coates suddenly decided he wanted to be a senator again. Because and then Coates went on later to be in the Trump administration. National Security, I think, was the title that he had there. But Dan Coates was a senator, stopped being a senator, decided he wanted to be a senator again. The only problem was in between, there was this video that surfaced about him talking about moving to North Carolina. And now essentially saying that was his home. That was where they were going to live now. Well, when Dan Coates ran for Senate in 2010, I didn't hear a peep from the Republicans about that. After Dan Coates got the nomination in the Republican primary, I didn't see anybody saying, whoa, there's this video of this guy saying he don't want to be in Indiana anymore, that he's got a new home. No outrage then. Why? Because the Republicans only care about one thing, and that's electing Republicans. That's it. If you're Greg Ballard and you leave for a couple years and then come back and you've been here several years before you run for an office again, well, you're some sort of anti-Indiana carpetbagger. But if you're Dan Coates and you move back, presumably kind of just to run for the Senate seat, you're great. You're fine. The Republicans, and look, it is true for both parties. The Democrats would do the same thing if somebody were threatening them. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, our slogan on this show is we dislike all these people equally. But right now we're talking about the Republican Party going after a guy who they previously told us was the best of the best. He's the guy. He's the guy all the other Republicans should be like. With ridiculous claims that apparently have been very quickly refuted, by the way. When their guys, who they are behind and have been behind, have done the exact same thing or worse. This isn't about who Greg Ballard is. I mean, imagine You're willing to shill and go out on the limb and lay down for Diego Morales? You guys need power that bad that somebody as rotten as Diego Morales is who you will lay down for? And you are willing to attack? Look, I don't agree with Greg Ballard on a lot of his policies. We talked about it, laid it out. And by the way, not endorsing Greg Ballard, not telling anybody to vote for Greg Ballard, not doing any of that. We call the balls and strikes here. And in this case, even though Greg Ballard, not my favorite politician, what the Republicans are doing is ridiculous. It's gross. It's totally hypocritical. You're willing to lay down for somebody as rotten and disgusting as Diego Morales and attack the character and who the person of Greg Ballard is? Greg Ballard is an exemplary person, whether you like his politics or not. And so right out of the gate, we are once again seeing how politics brings out the worst in us, but it also exposes who these people actually are. It also tells you exactly when they are forced to remove the mask. I've talked about this for years, right? That these people, they are essentially wearing masks. They're showing you who they want you to see. They're feeding you lies. And then in adversity, when the heat gets cranked up, you see who they really are. Diego Morales, I saw somebody, a loyal Diego supporter, bitching about one of Ballard's plans, a voter guide to people, how much that was going to cost. Diego Morales disappeared last year during a budget session, a budget hearing, to go to India for 10 days. Nobody knew where he was going. Nobody knew where he was. I mean, in the public. I'm sure some people around him knew. His job, the budget hearing to decide how his office gets funded, he disappeared. He went to India for 10 days on a quote-unquote economic development mission. Bizarre, right? Because the Secretary of State has no economic development responsibilities. What we do know is that his buddy, who had a big state contract with Diego's office, went with him. And what was that guy doing? He was bragging on Facebook about selling visa access. To this day, we publicly have no idea who paid for that trip. We have no confirmation whatsoever that, as Diego Morales later said, I pay for India, I'll pay. Because, of course, you guys remember when he got pushed on who paid, he wouldn't say who paid, and then he inexplicably one day came out and said, I paid the money back. We said, great, show us the proof. Show us who you wrote the check to. Show us the receipts that match. We'll all go home. No, not doing that. And the Republican Party won't say a word about it. Arguably the second highest office in our state disappears to a foreign country for 10 days, doing who knows what with who knows who. What we do know is his buddy, who had a big state contract with Diego's office, goes with him and is bragging about selling visa access on Facebook. And then we don't know who paid for it. That's okay with the Republicans. That's standard operating procedure for the Indiana Republican Party. That's fine. They'll defend that to the death. They'll go to the mat. Why? Because it's about power. It's not about you. It's not about good government. It's not about electing good people. It's about protecting their power. When people say, well, why are you so mean to the Republicans? How would I defend any of this? If you're an intellectually honest broker, how would you defend any of what I just told you? Do you think those people care about you? Do you think they're about electing people who will go to bat for you? Do you think those people are about fighting for you? Why do you think your property taxes have never gone higher? Why do you think your utility bills have never gone higher? All of these issues that we're facing in our state, why do you think that? Look at who's elected. Look at who's elected to serve you. Look at the people who defend them. Look at the apparatus around them. They will go to the mat for somebody as rotten as Diego Morales and try to destroy the reputation of someone as good, even if I don't agree with him politically, as Greg Ballard. That is the Indiana Republican Party. All right, let me tell you about my guys over at Bramwell Mackay. These guys are awesome. And heard from them the other day. They said, man, we've heard from a bunch of your listeners, your viewers, that they've heard our message. And that's what we need. These sponsors, guys, we've got to reach out to them. Some of these services you're not going to need right in the moment. But let the sponsors know, hey, heard your message on Rob's show. Thanks for supporting Rob. When we need you, we're calling you. They know that, right? They don't expect the phone to be ringing off the hook instantaneously. You're not going to be out there smashing your chimney in half just to give them a few bucks. But let them know, please. It's very important. You can just Google them. There's a contact form. Bramwell Mackay, BRAMWELLMCKAY, Bramwell Mackay. Just 2 seconds. Take them. Send them a message. Contact form. Heard you on Rob's show. Thanks for being awesome. Yeah. All right. Leaking chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is one of your biggest investments. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialist. All right, before we take a quick break, something happened yesterday. Like I said, we don't talk a lot of sports on this show. We do talk sports, though, when it transcends into regular society. And this really feels like it has transcended into regular society, and that was that Lou Holtz passed away. Lou Holtz was the former coach of Notre Dame football. He was 89 years old. And Lou Holtz was sort of the last coach of the final stand of Notre Dame as a dynasty. For those of you who may be too old to remember, including me, but I read a lot. It's before my time. Notre Dame had hit some Notre Dame was the gold, when we say gold standard. They were the tippy top, the gold standard for years and years and years in college football. And they fell in some really hard times in the early 1980s. Jerry Faust is the head coach. Didn't go well. They were in big trouble. They hired Lou Holtz, I believe, in 1986. He almost immediately turned the program around. And by 1988, they were national champions. They were finished second in 1989, second in 1993. Lou Holtz was sort of the last coach of the end of the Notre Dame dynasty. Now, Notre Dame's had some good teams over the past, 30 years. Certainly they've been in the tournament. They went to the national championship game several times. But in terms of you think as Notre Dame as the ultimate in college football, which that's sort of embedded into our state. Whether you're a Notre Dame football fan, now obviously IU is the best team in the country right now. Nobody saw that coming, right? But for people my age and older, you grew up, many of us, even if you're not Catholic, watching Notre Dame football, loving Notre Dame football. And Lou Holtz was the guy, was the coach when I was a kid that brought that dynasty back. He elevated Notre Dame from really dark times to the tippy top of college football, numerous years. And so just when these legendary, whether it was Bob Knight a couple of years ago or Lou Holtz, when these legendary coaches who were a big part of your childhood, a big part of the fabric of our state, brought great publicity and awards to our state, when they leave, it kind of feels like a part of you goes too. When these people who were such a big part, especially of your childhood or your adolescence, your youth, when they leave, it kind of feels like we leave with them a little bit. All right. Let's take a break. When we come back, there's a new battle over data centers that's going on. We've got some new approval ratings on Trump, which are fascinating, and a column about Mike Braun that I thought hit it right, the nail right on the head. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. A couple of announcements. One, we got to say thanks to our guy who wrote the theme song for the Rob Kendall Show, Dean Klein. He's an awesome dude, great local musician. A bunch of you guys have asked about Dean Klein, and we just wanted to let you know that's who it is. Dean Klein, great local musician, stepped up, big fan of what we do, and he said, "Hey, I will help you guys out." And so Dean Klein is the author of the Rob Kendall Show theme song. Thanks, Dean. We really appreciate it. Another thing that we decided to do, several of you had reached out and said, hey, look, I don't own a business, because, of course, we have the promo run and say, hey, if you want to support our show, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. I said yesterday on the program, I said, I will call you back. Like, it's not some call center. It's not some sales guy. It's me. You send an email, I call you back. And yesterday, got several emails of people interested in supporting our program, and I called one of them back, and they said, boy, you weren't lying. You really do call people back. And I said, yeah, why would I lie about that? He goes, I can't believe you call. Yeah, I'll call you back. Sales@robkendallshow.com, and I'll call you back. Look, I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, went through the whole thing, told him, hey, what you do, we may not be able to help you. We only want business of people that we think we can help, because we're all in this together. We believe it's an actual relationship where you're taking the time to watch us, you're taking the time to promote us, you're taking the time to help us. We don't want to take your money if we don't think we can help you. And so there are some people, we just have a conversation with them and say, hey, probably not much we can do. Thanks for listening. We'll view in. We love you. Appreciate you. We view this as a relationship with us and the audience. And so it's been a blast the last couple of days. I'm getting to know so many of you, what you do, the great local businesses you run or you're in charge of or whatever that is. But sales@robkendallshow.com. Now, a bunch of you reached out and have said, hey, look, I don't own a business. I'm not in charge of a business. I want to support the show. What can I do to help? And he said, no, just listen. It's enough. He said, no. We want to help you. We want to support you. And I'm blown away at how much you guys are just willing to support this endeavor here. Like when we started, Jason was like, man, maybe we'll get 5 people that'll watch it. Of course, obviously it's thousands of people, right? And so you guys have been saying, just say, no, the sharing, the liking, that's plenty. And people said, no, I really want to, I'm tuning in every day. I'm getting great joy out of this. How can I help you? So Jason and I decided, we said, well, we'll go ahead and put a donate button up at robkendallshow.com, robkendallshow.com. If you guys want to donate, you can. We're not begging you for money. We're just saying, look, a bunch of you have asked. So in lieu of just responding to everybody, figure I'll just put the announcement out here. robkendallshow.com. There's a little donate button. If you guys say, hey, we want to support the show, we'll do it. You're welcome to do it. Again, don't feel like you have to. We're not pressuring you to do it. It's not a plea for cash, but we just, for those of you who have asked, we decided, okay, we'll go ahead and put the little donate button up there, robkendallshow.com. And we appreciate all you guys who have been a part of this family already, what you're doing every single day. We can't thank you enough. Now, so many of you have commented on my shirts. I wear these, these button-up shirts every day. The real reason you like them, my mom. My mom irons my shirts every week. She gets great joy in ironing my shirts. My shirts aren't even that great. It's my mom's ironing ability, and she washes them too. I do them, they look like crap. It's all my mom. So I couldn't do it without her. She's the real reason for the shirts looking so fabulous. All right, let's talk about this column. And James Briggs is going to be with us tomorrow to talk about this column. He's got a column out today on Diego and Ballard. But he wrote a column about Mike Braun, governor of the state of Indiana. And I thought this was really interesting because I think and Briggs and I, you guys know, he was on our old radio show all the time. I don't agree with James on a lot of his political beliefs. I think he's a great writer. I think he's a good investigator. I think he's done great investigative journalism over the years, and I consider us to be friends. I get this all the time. How can you be friends with all of these liberal people? What, do you agree with every single person you're friends with? Well, I have friends from across the political spectrum. First of all, being in media, like if I was just going to be friends with conservative people, I wouldn't have many friends. I appreciate people that challenge me on my thought. I appreciate people that do good work in terms of their investigations, in terms of the topics they choose to take on. And I'm not so close-minded that I can't read somebody I disagree with and then just like shut them out of my life. And I think all of us should strive in our lives to be surrounded by, to be with, to include in our orbit people that do challenge us, that we don't necessarily agree with on all topics. I think it makes you a better person. I think it makes you more well-rounded. And at the end of the day, if you got some friend you don't agree with on politics or government or whatever, just let them say you're crazy and smile and laugh and go on about your day. I really admire the work that Briggs does. And so, we get along very well. And I think in this one, he really nailed who Mike Braun is. And this column is about why Braun is struggling, why Braun and the Republicans, really the Republicans as a collective. Do you think about the polling that has come out on really the three top Republicans in the state, 1, 2, and 3? It's Braun, it's Micah Beckwith, Lieutenant Governor, and it's Diego. And in all of those polls that have come out, while in the case of Micah and Diego, most people have no idea who they are, those that do, it's not good. Poll after poll on Braun has shown him, even though people know who he is, they don't like him either. What, that poll, public policy polling poll that came out, was it 2 weeks ago now, week and a half ago, that showed him almost 2-1 unfavorable? That is dumpster fire territory. And Briggs' column, I think, really hits the nail on the head with these guys. Diego, Micah, Braun. And specifically in talking about Braun is unpopular because he's being who he thinks Trump and the Trump orbit want him to be, or demand that he be in some cases, not who the people of Indiana need him to be. And look, while Briggs and I may come at it from different ends of the political spectrum, I agree with that. And I think what you find is politicians, and we talked about this a little bit to go back to our opening segment, politicians morph into whoever they think you want them to be. Because the power, and by power I mean the elected office, is all that matters to them. That defines them as people. It's not good. It's really a miserable existence. It's one of the reasons, there were numerous reasons, but one of the reasons, I touched on one earlier, that I got out of politics. I did not ever want to become that person. I never wanted to be the person where you give away who you are in order to elevate yourself. And we'll get back to this Briggs column, but I know this, I told this story many times on the radio show, but I want to tell it here because there are new people coming in all the time. By the way, if you haven't done it, please like, please share, please subscribe. Please let people know about our show. When I was in elected office, I was considering, this would have been in 2014, 2015. I was considering running for state senate. I felt like I'd accomplished all I could in the term that I had in my local office, and a bunch of people said, we want you to go to the state house. We want you to bring the fight, the passion. We want you to bring that to the state house. And I took a long, hard look at it. In fact, Jason will remember this. He took the picture, the famous Rob Kendall photo with the suit, the orange tie that you guys have seen for years. That was going to be my campaign headshot if I ran. Took that in at Jason's house. That beautiful photo. It's all thanks to Jason. And look at how little I've aged over the years. That was 11 years ago. Look at this. Look at this. It's amazing, right? Anyway, it was going, I took a look at it. We had just a swarm of people who said, we will support you. We will be with you. We're behind you. I'm talking hundreds of people a year and a half out from the election. And I'm thinking, okay, I feel like maybe this is the thing I'm supposed to do. It's a new way to help people. It's a new way to go fight for people. It's a new level to fight for people on. And then I had a meeting with a very high-profile lobbyist in the state of Indiana and met with this person for about 2 hours, went through a bevy of issues. The person said, hey, love what you've done at a local level, love the the way you see things, the way you make things happen, your vision, the way you see things differently than other people do, the way you see government different than other people do, I think you're going to be a resounding success at the state level. And it was a great conversation. Like I said, went on for 2 hours. They gave me all sorts of tips, pointers, whatever. And as we get to the end of the meeting, the person looks at me and says, "What's your opinion on this issue?" Now, I'm not going to identify the issue because that would identify the person and they've done nothing wrong. Great person. Really hold this person in high regard to this day. And they said, "What's your opinion on this issue?" And it's not one of those issues that is like a major issue where you would think about it all the time. Not one of the like top 10 things, but it was obviously a very specific issue because it dealt in the field that this person represented clients in. And they asked me the question and I said, I haven't really thought a lot about it. It's not something that's really been on my mind. I will certainly research it and look into it and then come up with an opinion that I think is best for the people. And the person said, "Well, if your opinion is not fill in the blank, then don't count on my support." And I said, "Really? What?" I'd had this meeting for 2 hours that had gone great. All of these things we're agreeing on. All these times saying, "Hey, you did this right. You did that right. This is good. We love this." And I said, "Well, wait a second. But you just said," he goes, "I know." I said, "I know." I said, "Well, but so this one issue, if I don't come to the opinion on this one issue that aligns with what you do, all the other stuff doesn't matter?" He said, "That's right. Because all those other issues, they're not taking money out of my pocket. They're not taking money out of my clients' pockets." And I remember leaving that meeting. And by the way, hard to blame the person, right? I mean, people are paying you money to represent them. Why would you support somebody that's going to potentially screw you and your clients over? As I've mellowed over time, I've come to view that a little bit differently, or I understand it a little bit better at least. But the point is, I walked out of that meeting and I said to myself, I don't think I can do this. Because your life then becomes one person after another trying to leverage something. And if you don't do what that person says, then they're not going to support you. If you don't vote the way that person wants on their key issue, then they're not going to support you. And I remember thinking to myself, if you give in on one, because this wasn't a major issue. I remember like having this conversation with myself. I said, well, it's not a major issue. It's not a huge issue that people would be outraged one way or another. I could have whatever opinion I wanted on this and it would probably be okay. And then I thought, because in my mind I was justifying it saying, well, but then it will help me. If I get in there, it will help me do the main things for the people that I want to do. The big things that really better people's lives. And then I remember this very vividly, having this conversation with myself. Saying, but if I give in on this one thing, then it becomes something else. And then something else, and something else, and something else, and something else. And then finally, you're giving in on the big things. Because the job, the position, the power starts defining you. The need for the position starts defining you. And I said, I can never be that person. I couldn't live with myself. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. I couldn't do that. And that's one of the major reasons I got out of it. That meeting changed my life, and for the better. Because if I'd have gone into the state house, it would have won, would have been completely miserable. Ostracized, probably kicked out of the caucus, all that stuff, right? Rob Kendall, you're out of here. And that's when I made the decision. I said, I've got to spend my life telling people what's going on, motivating them to action, and media, going back into media, radio at the time, now this, et cetera, all the stuff we've done, is the only way to do that. So to come back to Briggs' column on Braun, Braun is failing because he craves acceptance. I know, I've dealt with him on it. I've been face-to-face with him on it. Do you guys remember that when they were polling on me a couple of years ago? You guys remember this? You were sending like they were doing, it was a legitimate poll about who you voting in the governor's election, blah, blah, blah. And then like in the survey, it was, what's your opinion of Rob Kendall? Like a bunch of you guys screenshotted this, sent it to me. Think about that. Whether it was Braun or the party or whoever was doing the actual polling. Instead of just going, hey, that guy's right and he's got a bunch of great ideas and let's ride with him. They want to know what my actual approval rating was. A radio guy. Now, we don't know exactly who did the polling. It never come out. We had some strong suspicions. But clearly it was somebody with a bunch of money. And who would be polling about a radio guy? These politicians Everything is a calculated decision. And every calculated decision is about what's best for them and the power, not what's best for you. And so Briggs' column is talking about how Braun's subserviency to Trump. Look, Trump has some good ideas. Trump has some bad ideas. Trump is not absolutely right on absolutely everything. There's a lot of areas he's way off. There's a lot of areas he's way on. But when you live in a world, and in the case of Braun and Beckwith and Diego, these guys just have turned into Trump parrots. Who would Trump want me to be? That's what I'll do. Not who do you need me to be? And that's what our elected officials should be. Who do you, the people, need me to be? What issues do you need me to fight on that are best for you? It's why they tried to move heaven and earth on redistricting, but few of these people would lift a finger to actually help you. In the case Braun, he totally caved on property taxes. See utility bills. The major stuff that affects you, they won't go to the mat for you, but they will go to the mat every single time for Trump. And so Briggs' column lays out why our government is failing, and that is a big reason. Not because all of Trump's ideas are bad, but because Donald Trump doesn't know Indiana. He doesn't live in Indiana. And when you become totally subservient to someone rather than the people who elect you that you are elected to serve, you're going to be in conflict with them. Your approval rating is going to be low unless the person that you are subservient to is totally in touch with the people and agrees with the people on everything. And clearly that is not happening. We need elected people that are going to put you first. We need elected people that say you are the priority, not the party, not this politician, not politics. We don't have it with Braun, and that is why his approval rating is so low. Okay, when we come back, guys, we're going to try something new. Everything is new to us, right? Everything is new, and we're going to bring a guest in. Now, everything may blow up. Everything may disintegrate. We don't know. Trial and error. We'll find out if we can pull it off. When we come back, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Rob Kendall Show. Find us on Twitter at RobMKendall, robkendallshow.com. Joined in studio, nobody knows Indiana politics and government like this guy. 30 years in the Indiana Senate, the great Jim Merritt joins us now. Hello.
Robert.
So, yes, I missed that so much. So, of course, we're still doing the State House Happenings deal. You're looking like $1 million, as always. I mean, I feel like you came out of the womb looking like that.
I'm comfortable in a tie.
Well, it was one of my great things that I lamented those years on the radio was people never got to see you because you always dressed this nice.
Well, I wish I had the voice to match the dress.
Yeah, all right. So, look, nobody knows Indiana politics and government like you, and I want to get to your book here in just a minute. But let's talk about this idea of Greg Ballard entering the race for Secretary of State as an independent. You know Ballard very well. You were the chairman of both of his runs for mayor.
I was, and he was the chairman of mine.
Oh, well, that's why you're both winners.
Yeah, we got along very well, and I can remember 2007, Bart Peterson is mayor, and Greg Ballard, a Marine, is our candidate for the mayor's job in Indianapolis, the Republican Party, and that summer was so magical, and come August, and you can just feel the momentum, and I'm just I was excited about it, and then running for reelection, where you didn't have that wind behind your backs with the anti property tax issue, and he had to stand on his own record to run for reelection in a decidedly Democrat county.
So people see the independent label. They say he won't have either the two-party apparatus behind him. Can he make a difference statewide without having an R or D behind his name?
I think absolutely. I think Greg Ballard is situated so well with his record, number one, but two, when you look at the 18 to 35 segment of voters, the party label is not as dominant there. And it really it will play a big role this year. Obviously, getting on the ballot and having that, having those 50,000 signatures, as we've talked about, you need about 37 or 38,000, but you need to get 50,000 to make sure that the spoil rate, the idea that people sign the certificate 2 times or whatnot, and to get out in Indiana and have people looking for signatures, about $5 a signature. So you're looking at a $250,000 investment in just getting on the ballot by June 30th. And I think he can do it.
Jim Merritt is our guest. It's good to have you back. Okay, so you and I got an interesting debate before we started the cameras rolling. I said, save it. I said yesterday on the program, I think Greg Ballard's an incredibly important figure because if he does well as a third-party candidate, it will inspire more independent, good people to run as independents for public office. You said, he can win this thing. I don't believe he can. Tell me why Greg Ballard can win as an independent third-party candidate.
Well, first of all, he's going to inspire people to run for office because that's at an all-time low. Government is not trusted; it's feared, and this is coming out of the pandemic. And we need leaders like Greg Ballard on the ballot and in office. I believe that he can win because when I was running for, and this is 2019, but I think it bears repeating that when I was running for mayor of Indianapolis, there are a lot of Democrats that voted for Ballard in both of his elections in 7 and 11.
They don't like you?
I was not able to convert them. But he had a lot of Democrat support. He would not have won the mayor's office, and he will have a lot of Democrat support and independent support, and obviously Republicans will support him as well. So yes, Greg Ballard has a very good opportunity to win come November.
All right, so let's talk about Diego Morales, assuming he's the nominee. Now, right. you and I got into this on State House Happenings. Let's start with this. If you're a convention delegate, and look, these people know what Diego is. They want to hide their head in the sand at the State House and act like it's not happening. People know. And the buy machine is going to let everybody know. Don't you have to take a real hard look and go, hey, David Shelton's super boring, but he's also very competent. Let's go with that guy.
That's kind of an interesting point of view because I believe, I heard several weeks ago that Greg was getting fired up to run for something.
You knew and didn't tell me?
It was just a rumor. And, I didn't even tell Abdul, but I heard he was running.
That's his comeback. Don't feel bad. I didn't tell my best friend either.
We're tight, all of us. But the idea is, I thought he was going to run in the convention, but
as a Republican.
As a Republican. However, I think he took a look at it and knows that Diego is so solid around the bubble of the collar counties and Marion County that I think if you look at Fort Wayne, you look at LaGrange County, you look at Southern Indiana, Diego has those convention votes locked up, and I think he'll get the nomination.
Why do these people not know about him outside of were we that powerful? Like, it just seems like you get outside of where people would hear us, and you're right. Like, oh, he's great. I didn't even know that was going on. Like, how is the rest of the state not knowing the stuff that we know?
Well, it's a lot like Greg Ballard, who had a lot of goodwill throughout the state when he was turning Indianapolis around with Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Diego has been around for so long in the Republican Party. He has that link. He has that chain of support through the years. And if you look at polls outside the bubble of Indianapolis, he's doing very well, and that will bring him the nomination with the Republican Party.
All right, you've not just come out of the goodness of your heart. You have something you're trying to sell. What is it?
I'm always trying to sell something.
Tell us about this fabulous new book that you have.
Lessons learned, and the subtitle is "Are We Ready for the Next Pandemic? History Says No." And you and I have talked about this for a long time on State House Happenings. And during the pandemic, I was still in the Senate in 20, and I saw a real scramble in the State House for crisis managers and crisis communications. And everybody was dealing this from the Trump administration to the Holcomb administration. And it was something that the government had never seen before. And they were grasping at straws. And I thought there would be some sort of after action report in 2022. I saw nothing. And we really haven't looked at what we did right and what we did wrong on a national scale or a state scale.
Well, let me stop you there with that. Why did your former colleagues in the General Assembly not do anything?
Well, I think it was a lack of information. In the early parts of 2020, leaders from the legislature were going in to talk to Governor Holcomb, but our members, all 150 members or so, were going to church. They were going to the grocery. They were going to the gym, and
until Holcomb told them they couldn't.
Yeah, and the communication. Those were 150 pairs of boots on the ground, and we, the legislature, really weren't informed very well. You saw the Facebook Live at 1:30, and that was fine, but the board of directors, if you will, the legislature, co-equal branch of government, we really didn't know what was going on. And July 22, we have a mask mandate, and there really wasn't a whole lot of communication with us. And so the bottom line was that there really wasn't a great communication with the legislature. And then there was not an after action report. But I will say the Holcomb folks, the Holcomb administration did a really good job of trying to hook up boards of health and hospitals and try to make a communication of healthcare out in suburban, rural, and urban Indiana.
Yeah, but it was all about power pants.
Yeah.
There was nothing about, and I think this is what makes everybody so angry. We were reading the dashboard. It was me and the women back then.
Right.
And I remember having fights with them about it because they were kind of like, well, just let them do it. Let them shut it down, whatever, right? And I said, no. We already know here, like after 2 or 3 weeks, we have seen the people that are at risk with this. Everybody's going to get it anyway, right? Unless you're just going to be a hermit.
Right.
So we've seen who's most at risk. 80% of the populace can go back to work fine. And it just seemed like everything the government did was about enhancing the power of the government, and the rules were insane.
Yes. And what came to the fore because of that was siloed government and fear and lack of trust.
Yeah.
And not being able to go to church, and with people in Indiana, that was ignited a lot of angst and a lot of anxiety and fear, and I wrote the book because we can't do that again.
Yeah,
and this book had the final chapter talks about solutions going forward. I've not seen in any book whatsoever anything that the government says we have your back. We need to create that trust, and we need to grow community, and we will direct you. We will help you in the future. And it all is about communication. And the government is just so bad at saying, this is what we did right, this is what we did wrong, and this is what we're going to do in the future.
You just hit the nail on the head. There is no acknowledgement they did anything wrong.
No.
There's nothing.
No.
Like the lockdowns, the business closures, the masking, none of that stopped anything. And they've never said, the state's never said. And now, Weaver's like the head person now, who was right there the whole time.
Right. And I'm anxious to talk to her about what she thinks we should be doing going forward.
Well, she's going to hate you being here.
Well, that
interview's not going to happen.
I look forward to Lindsay Weaver having an open mind about the future.
Another one of your friendships I've ruined. Congratulations. You should have just wrote a book about that. All the people that used to be friends with.
I intend to talk to her about the loneliness that went on during COVID, and the opportunity for instance, one of the solutions is for our local folks, our local government, to look at wastewater, because you can tell from analyzing wastewater of actually what's going on in the bodies of the people you're governing. And it's just a fantastic
That sounds
idea.
both interesting and disgusting.
It is disgusting, but you have to analyze what is going on in your community so you can help them.
Yeah. Tell us where we can get the book. What's the name of the book? All that sort of stuff.
Lessons learned, and it's, are we ready for the next pandemic? History says no. You can get it at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, online.com, and as well as something called bookmad.com.
What?
Bookmad. Yeah.
Bookmad.
And I'll be around Indiana talking about this, and not only to sell books, but to prepare our society, prepare America and Indiana, that we need to be asking questions, and we need leadership, and we need to dispel fear.
Find him on Twitter at Jim_Merritt. Merritt in the Morning is the name of the podcast. It is fabulous. YouTube as well as Facebook. Jim Merritt, so good to be back with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching The Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out The Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at The Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, that's what we have with viewers on The Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how The Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Oh, you guys, you are awesome. You guys never ever cease to amaze me. You guys are amazing. Hey, it's the Rob Kendall Show. Thanks for joining us. Couple of reminders. Don't forget, you can follow along on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall over there. Try to do a Twitter live every day before the show. You can see me give some thoughts on what we're going to talk about each day. At Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. And then also robkendallshow.com. robkendallshow.com. We got the live broadcast there. The podcasts are there. The transcripts. You guys go read those transcripts. They're a pain in the ass to put together, but they're cool, man. Transcripts of some of the favorite segments that we do every day. You can go back and read them all at robkindleshow.com. Now, you guys, you just blow me away. So earlier in the program, we said, look, for those of you guys, is that grammar? Those of you guys, those of you, there we go. My mother, the English teacher, would be so disappointed. Those of you who have reached out, because a bunch of you reached out and said, hey, look, I don't own a business, I don't run a business, but I want to support you. And we're like, man, you're doing great the way you are. Just keep tuning in. They said, no. Like, you give us so much joy every day. Just like, we want to support you. I said, okay, okay. So Jason and I talked to him. I said, well, look, we'll put the donate button up at robkindleshow.com. We're not begging you for money. We're not saying, hey, please give us money. We said, look, if you are a person who feels like you want to do something, great. We would love that. You guys are like donating left and right. Mills SC, $89, $50, $32, $50. You guys are awesome, man. I can't, and this is the thing I knew about this endeavor when we started it. I knew it was going to be big. I knew we were going to grow together. And I firmly believe in my mind, this is going to become one of the coolest things going on in Indianapolis media. And we're going to be a part of it together from the ground up because it's a family. We're all in this together, and it's a family, and we're certainly not the biggest, and we don't have the biggest pocketbooks behind us, but that's kind of the fun, right? It's the rise to the top. It's a long climb to the top. And you guys are the family, and you're outstanding. And I just, for all those who are kicking in a few bucks, you guys are amazing. And again, we didn't put up there because we were like, we need you to donate. But a bunch of you had reached out, and we just said, well, okay, we'll put it up, and if people want to do it, that's fine. And you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for doing that, and love you guys, and so appreciate all that you do for us. Tuning in each day, sharing the feed, letting people know we're out there. That's how this is going to grow. It's all on you guys. When we decide we're going to do this show, we put a lot of thought into how does it grow, and I said it grows with the people. If the people don't share it, if the people don't put it out there, then it won't. And organically, we're going to grow this together and grow our family and grow people that are passionate about good government. And that's how we're going to do it every single day together. Hey, couple of other reminders, and then we'll get to Trump's approval ratings. There's a new battle in the data centers in central Indiana. For those of you who are attending our live show, so Hammer and I have the live show Saturday night in Greenwood, 7 p.m. at Mad Hatter Comedy Club. It's going to be an awesome event. It sold out weeks ago. They opened more tickets. Those sold out. They opened more tickets. They sold those out. I think maybe they're done selling tickets now. But if you're one of the people that is a part of the event, the meet and greet part of the event, that's going to start at 5:30. 5:30 is the meet and greet. Show time is at 7. We are so excited to see you guys and meet you and get to hang out with you. I've heard Hammer's routine. It's a blast. I think mine's pretty damn good too. And then we're going to get back up together on stage at the end. We've got a whole segment about people we hate. It's just going to be a fabulously good time, and we're so excited to see you guys. So, all right. Let's talk about Trump's approval rating. Fox News has a new survey out in which 57% of the voters expressed disapproving of the job Trump is doing. 57% of voters expressed disapproving of the job Trump is doing. 43% say they approve. And then when they do these surveys, they will break them down into different categories, different sections like how do you feel on the economy? How do you feel on this issue, that issue, that issue? The only area where Trump, by the way, you guys are like, no notes today, what is he doing? My printer ran out of ink. You know, we tell you like it's the little engine that could, and we are a very small operation. I'm printing the template out today, and like halfway through, it just goes, and then it's just a white page. And those of you know, I don't do technology. So I did the thing any guy who doesn't know technology is. I went and asked my wife. I said, honey, there's just lines. There's no words. She said, yes, idiot. It's out of ink. Oh, okay. Well, it was too late. So I'll have to go get ink later. So I've got my little handy dandy computer here, which I'm working off of. So if you see me glance over here, that is what I'm glancing at. See, this is the thing about our show, full transparency. We let you in behind the scenes on what we're doing here. And we have the problems that you all have. Like my computer ran out of ink. All right. Anyway, 43% disapprove. In fact, there was only one area where Trump was above water, above 50%, and that was on immigration. 52% to 48% on immigration. Other than that, well, border security. Other than that, all underwater. And I come back to, and it sort of mirrors what happened in Indiana last year. When Braun screwed everybody on property taxes, I said that he's done. There's no recovering. You can't fail on the signature issue. You can't not deliver on the signature issue and then expect that these little secondary issues, now look, they're important. There's no doubt something like border security is immensely important. But when your whole, the sort of the backbone of your election was on everything's too expensive, prices are out of control, and you don't fix that, people are going to sour on you on everything else, whether it's warranted or not. Some of these numbers where Trump is underwater are probably not warranted. Immigration, I think he's actually doing a fine job. He should be much higher than 52% in terms of border security and dealing with illegal immigration in America. I think on that issue, he is following through on the promises he has made. But when you haven't delivered, which he hasn't in terms of rising prices, affordability, cost of living, and that was the thing that got you elected above everything else, people are going to be harsher on you on the other issues. They're going to be in a negative mood. It's the same thing with Braun. It's why in my final meeting with Braun, I begged him, please do not sign this property tax bill. Because even though I don't like the guy, I didn't want to see him fail and our state fail. I wanted him to succeed, and I wanted him to succeed on that issue because I believed it would help him succeed on other issues. He wouldn't listen. And look at what happened to Braun from the moment he signed that property tax bill. Down, down, down. In politics and government, it is very hard to be in good standing with the public if you don't deliver on the primary thing you were elected to do. And in the case of Mike Braun, his primary issue number one, property taxes. Donald Trump, economy, cost of living. And I think that's why you find him underwater. All right, let's talk about data centers now. WRTV6 has the article. There's another data center proposed in Indianapolis. Of course, we not all that long ago saw the big battle over the Google data center that ultimately got pulled. That will come back in all likelihood, but it got pulled. There's another data center proposed on the east side of Indianapolis. And it is from a company called California-based Metro Blocks. And they want to build a 154,000 square foot facility in the Martindale-Brightwood neighborhood. It's currently an empty lot. It is currently, it needs to be zoned properly. And this is where these data centers have to come in front of the government, which gives the people the opportunity to have a voice to try to fight back. If you don't get the zoning change, you can't get the data center. Now, I'm going to get data centers in a second, but I want to give you some facts on this. So the Indianapolis Department of Metropolitan Development Commission has delayed a vote on this. So that's the first step before it's got to ultimately go to the city county council. It's the first hurdle they've got to get through. And they have delayed this for 30 days at the request of Ron Gibson, a member of the Indianapolis City County Council. Now, I want to read you Gibson's quote according to RTV6, and then we'll get into the data centers because this is very interesting. He said, quote, "We'll work very hard in the next 30 days to try and inform the community more about the benefits of this project." Let me read that to you again because it's very important. "We'll work very hard in the next 30 days to try and inform the community more about the benefits of this project." This is why people hate the data centers. This is why people are against the data centers. Number one, they don't understand them. And two, they don't see benefit. People don't understand them, and they don't see benefit. I am not anti-data center guy. Now, I know you guys know I've been critical of them. I'm not anti-data center guy. I understand what I'm doing right now based around a data center. I'm not naive. I am using the service. You are consuming information on that service. What I have concerns about, one, is how it infects the environment of the people around it and the lack of security on things like power bills, water usage, water rates. I have concerns about those. And I have concerns about the incentives that are coming with the data centers and a lack of a clear financial perspective being relayed to the community. I had a long conversation with a person who is in the communications business, who does work with the data centers. I've told this story on the radio before. This is not that long ago, so this maybe it was right before I ended my time there. And this person called me and said, let's talk about data centers. And he said, help me understand the public opposition in hopes that we can better communicate to the public. And what I told him is this. I said, you will never sell the public on data centers until the public, one, fully understands them, and two, the benefits of those data centers being a part of the community, primarily from a financial perspective, are laid out. And the problem with these data centers is they are not communicating well. They're not communicating properly. They're getting these things to these government boards before they have community buy-in. And when these things get to these government boards who make the decisions before there's a community understanding and a community buy-in, public goes into crisis mode. They go into panic mode because they see the timer, right? They see the timer ticking. They feel like, oh my gosh, this is happening quick, and I gotta do something. Well, that's going to cause people to lash out. That's going to cause people to panic. It's going to cause people sometimes to behave in a what some might see as an irrational way. There's nothing wrong with it, though, if you're doing that. Because if you don't understand something and you feel like somebody's putting a gun to your head, not literally, but, figuratively, right, in terms of they're trying to ram this thing through, the hourglass is ticking, the sand is coming down out of the hourglass, you're going to lash out. The data centers and governments, because the data centers and governments are working together, have done a terrible job of allowing the public into the process before they begin the process itself. What I mean by that is the data center people should be, before they ever go to a board and commission, before they even dream of taking a first step, should say, we are having this community meeting to hear from you, to understand what your concerns are, to lay out to you what we see as the benefits are, with government sign off on this is the dollar amounts that are going to be flowing in and the other benefits. And then we'd like to hear from you if you think those benefits are good enough, if you think the benefits need to be different, if you think they need to be more. The data center people could save them. Because look, data centers are going to be a part of the future. There's no doubt about that. My opposition to data centers is not that they shouldn't exist. It's that the incentives don't match the unknown. And there's more unknown, at least to the public, than there is benefit. One of the problems with data centers is they've done a lot of it in secrecy because they're leveraging communities against each other, in part. And when you do things in secrecy, you give the government the information, but not the public. So I think that's part of the reason the government gets more okay with the data centers than the public does. Because the government gets information that other people do not. Economic development is about relationships. It's one of my major issues with the IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Commission. They do all of this stuff shrouded in secrecy, shrouded in mystery. Sign this NDA. You can't talk about this. We don't give you information on that. Some deals that may be good get soured on by the public because the IEDC is seen as this shadow government entity that hides things from people, that is shifty by its very nature. It poisons the well. Anything about in your own life, anything you engage in, any financial decision, any purchase you make, would you make it if you didn't have a clear picture? If you were looking for, I'll just pick something here. If you were looking for car insurance and your agent came to you, or your agent came to you and said, pay this. Okay, well, what am I getting for that? Well, I don't have to tell you that. This is what you pay for car insurance. Well, yeah, but like I want to know my coverage. Is there a better provider out there? Is there a better option? Can I get more for less? What's the benefit to me? Doesn't matter. Here's what you pay for your car insurance. This is the deal. How would you respond to that? You wouldn't pay it, right? You would be outraged about that. You'd probably look for a new insurance agent. Customer service, connection, mutual benefit is a huge part of any economic development deal. And really, every purchase you make is an economic development deal. Think about anything you buy. You go to the store. I want this widget because I need this widget for my house. Okay, I get the widget. House is better off. Part in the house, whatever you need the widget for, better off. Store gets money. They're better off. It's a mutual benefit. The transaction is mutually beneficial. The public does not see the data center transaction as mutually beneficial. Sure, they want the stuff the data center has to offer, but they say not in my backyard. And that could be rectified if there was much more transparency from the data center people and community buy-in from the data center people from the get-go. Look, you're going to get some people that are always going to be against the data centers. They're going to use the data center product, right? But they're going to be against the data centers. You're never going to win those people. But there are a lot of reasonable people in the communities who are open to the data centers if they see a tangible benefit to the community. Right now, the perception is huge benefit to the data centers, huge benefits to the government. What's my benefit? I don't see it. And until that is rectified, data centers like this one proposed on the east side are going to continue to face intense pushback across our state. All right, get ready, guys. We're going to take our final break of the show. Long segment to wrap it up. We've got a whole bunch to get to. When we come back, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. Last segment of the show. It's going to be a long one. We'll do it together. It's going to be great. Rob Kendall Show, thanks for joining us. Couple of reminders. You can follow along on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall. At Rob M. Kendall. I'm going to start firing up those daily live videos over there on Twitter when the hustle and bustle of getting everything off the ground with this. Just didn't have time to get to them the last couple of days, but you guys love them. You respond well to them. So we'll continue to fire those up before the show each day at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. Also, bookmark, visit robkendallshow.com. robkendallshow.com. I'm amazed that those of you who have donated. We put the donate button up just because many of you said, hey, I want to help out, want to be a part of the show, want to do what I can. Don't own a business, don't run a business, but I love you, want to contribute, whether it's $5, $20, whatever. You guys are awesome, man. I love you guys. Thanks for all of those of you who have done that. Don't feel obligated. We didn't put it up there because we're begging you for money. Many of you had reached out about that, and I said, well, we'll put it up there. That's the easiest way to do it. robkendallshow.com. Couple of reminders, again, just things I want to touch on, how you can help us, because some of you are new coming in. If you haven't, please just take a moment, subscribe to the show. That's the number one thing you can do to help us. Subscribe to the show. The second thing you can do, share the feed. If you're watching right now, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, hey, here's where Rob is. This has got to grow organically, and that's how we're going to do it. If you're in the YouTube, thank you. If you're in the YouTube, you can chat. You guys are awesome on the chat. You have to be a subscriber to chat. You have to behave by the rules of decent society. All of you have so far. We've been very impressed with the very, very good behavior from all of you on the chat. And those are our rules. And producer Jason, he is very quick with the dump button. Don't threaten him with a good time. I want to read some of your comments. Mad Duck, we talked about data centers last segment. Some people think the data centers are going to create lots of jobs. There will be a bunch of construction jobs to build them. But when they're done, they won't be hiring any people to run them. Yes, that is a major concern with the data centers, the lack of employees. Now, some may say that's a benefit because once the data center is built, you don't have a bunch of trucks coming in and out. You don't have the truck traffic, the disruption. They are very dystopian-looking buildings, and the lack of jobs are a major issue. VJM HP 78, they're talking about Greg Ballard. If Ballard runs, he's got my vote. I met him and his lovely wife a couple of years ago at a naturalization ceremony. Look, Greg Ballard's going to win a lot of votes, especially if Diego is the nominee. Diego Morales is if you're Bo Bai, that's who you're cheering for out of that convention. If Shelton wins, it's a different ballgame. He's much more moderate, quiet, competent. Look, your politics doesn't really matter with the Secretary of State because their job is to be an administrator of the will of the General Assembly. Like my view on this, or I'm conservative on that. It doesn't matter. The treasurer, the Secretary of State, the comptroller, their job is they're an administrator. Competency is what matters. Their job is to administer the will of the General Assembly. It's supposed to be a boring job. Politics really shouldn't even be a part of it. As long as you're willing to do what the General Assembly says, which is your job. David Shelton is infinitely more competent than Diego Morales. But if you're Bo Bai, you're certainly rooting for Diego because Ballard, look, a lot of people will vote red no matter what. They never vote for in the sense of not voting for a Democrat. But if you gave them a viable mainstream option, they would do that. Ballard gives people an option not to vote for Diego. All right, let's see. Trump's approval rating is ass for many things, but I'd love to see how it recover from saying if we didn't bomb Iran, someone else would bomb Israel. Yeah, look, that's a major problem for Trump. And we talked about this, and I'll give this back to you, producer Jason. Again, got to be a subscriber in order to chat. You guys are awesome. Love you. That's going to be a major issue for Trump. Then we talked about this, our debut segment. There were only two options to deal with Iran to deal with Iran. If you were actually about having a viable strategy. Negotiations don't work. Can't negotiate with them. You can't try to reason with them. They're ideologues. We tried it for 50 years. It didn't work. You got two options. Ignore them. Try to apply some level of pressure with your allies economically, or just do what Trump did. And I said there are ramifications for both. And there are benefits to both. If you did nothing, you're going to embolden and then continue by sort of default enable one of the world's largest state sponsors of terrorism. That's what Iran is. They hate us. They would love to destroy us. That's what they'll do. But the plus side of it is gas prices don't go up. U.S. military members aren't put in harm's way. World economy isn't disrupted. You do what Trump's doing now, you're wiping out a regime of really, really, really awful people who want to do awful things to us. But you're going to pay all sorts of short-term price for this. And we're not good at nation building. We stink at it. We're horrible at it. And so what comes next? That's a big question. So great comments. You guys are awesome at that. So and keep commenting there in the YouTube chat. You guys are phenomenal. Okay. Gallup has an interesting poll that came out. And they polled on what are people's top concerns in the country. And the American people, they get it. So according to Gallup, government and political leadership remains Americans' top concern in February when asked to identify the, quote, most important problem facing the country today. Not immigration, not the economy, not inflation, the government itself. That is so spot on. The people get it. The system itself, the people in the system, they are the disease. Inflation, immigration, all of these other things, they're just a symptom. The system itself, the structure itself is broken. The system itself, the structure itself is the reason everything is so bad. The American people get it. Overall, 29% of U.S. adults in February, according to Gallup, cited some aspect of government or politics as the country's most important problem. That's pretty close to what it was in January, 32%, and 26% in December. By comparison, so that's at 29%. Immigration was at 20%. It's up sharply from 10%, but similar to 19% in January. I'm sorry, in December. So by almost 10%, or a third, right? Public school math. People see the government itself as the biggest problem in our country. And that is so spot on. You will never fix all of these problems as long as you have the current structure with the current people making the choices. It is the current people. I mean, it's been, you could say that for generations though, right? It's the people. Generational. It's generations of these politicians who put themselves, their own interest, over us. And by the way, that's true to state level, it's true to local level, and it's especially true to federal level. These people don't care about us, and they govern that way. They behave that way. Look at the policies they produce. Why does nothing ever get solved? Why do things like Social Security, where everybody knows that it's running out of money, and tick, 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 we're within a decade, according to most reports. Why does it never get fixed? Because that would be doing what's right. And what's right is not what's important, most important to these people. It's keeping their jobs. It's hanging on to their power. And they know there's a good chance I won't be here in 10 years anyway. So yeah, the system will become insolvent. Yeah, the system will be totally broke. Medicare heading down the same path. But right now, I want the power. I want the check. I want the prestige. I want all the benefit. And so I'm not going to do anything to help you. I'm not going to do anything that's right. And I'm going to let some other guy and some other generation deal with the problem. Everything we do, everything our government does is that. How do you get $35 trillion in debt? You just keep putting it on a credit card and going, well, someday somebody's going to be in real trouble, but ain't my problem. Someday somebody's going to really have to pay for this and pay a lot because I don't know how we're going to tax people to $35 trillion. Not my problem. Ching, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And it's bipartisan. It's both parties, Republicans and Democrats alike. Republicans got control of the government last year. What'd they do? They added $5 trillion to the debt with the big, beautiful bill. Americans get it. Now, the one thing I can't figure out, though, is why we keep voting for the same people. If the majority of Americans understand that the government is the problem, if the majority of Americans understand that the system that we have created, that the people in the system are the problem, why do we keep reelecting the same people? How could you possibly think, well, it's everybody else's problem but mine? It's everybody else's representative or senator but mine. How is the reelection rate so high if the people clearly seem to get that the government itself and the institutions itself are the problem? Until we start making those changes, until we start pushing back and electing new people, we're not going to see anything different. For those of you who missed earlier in the program, my printer, it ran out of ink this morning. That's where I do all my show notes. It's really we laugh about what a small operation this is. I'm showing you right now what a small operation this is. I'm currently pulling up my computer to do my notes for the next segment. But before we do that, let me tell you about our friends at Bramwell Mackay. Bramwell Mackay, they're awesome. They've been with us before we had a show. We love Bramwell Mackay. And all of these, you're going to start hearing some more sponsors that are coming on board. And they're all local companies. Bramwell Mackay is across the state of Indiana. Some of these people are individual entrepreneurs. We are the show of endorsing the little guy. We want to elevate you in your business. If you'd like to learn more about that, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. Bramwell Mackay, masonry color mismatch, previous repair catching your eye, not happy with the brick color on your home and ready for a total makeover. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants offer specialized masonry, staining, and recoloring. Whether you want to seamlessly blend repairs or completely transform your home's exterior, want to build something new? Bramwell Mackay's 40-year master masons design and construct custom patios, sidewalks, outdoor summer kitchens, archways, entryways, and more. Bramwell Mackay, beauty built to endure. Let's talk about this congressman who had an affair with his staffer, and now he may be about to lose his job. Had this conversation the other day about, who was it? Was it the teachers, the mayors? That story came out about the mayor who was having allegedly having the relationship with the underage boy, and then the teachers where it's popping up left and right. By the way, is with the teachers, with the students, the relationship, is it just me, or does it seem like it's happening much more frequently than it used to? Did it always happen? It just didn't get reported? It seemed like when it used to get reported, it was like national news. It was a really big deal. Like you'd hear about a teacher with a student, and it was all over, NBC or whatever. Now it seems like it happens all the time. And it's not even like national news. Like your local news will cover it. Teacher allegedly has an affair with student. Fired. It's like people in power don't understand the rules of life. Rules of life are pretty simple. The players are 18 and up. If you're an educator, you can't have an affair with the student. If you're a mayor, you can't have an affair with an underage boy. And in the rules of life, if you're a congressman, it should be pretty self-explanatory. You can't have an affair with the staffer. Right? Like, you're a congressman. Whatever people do in their personal lives, that's up to them. I don't care. Unless you're in a position of power and you're having an affair as a lawmaker with someone who's on the taxpayer dime. Then I am going to step in on that and go, Just like if you're a teacher. Be with whoever you want to be with. Have an affair with whoever you want to have an affair with. That's between you and your partner, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend. But you can't do it with the student. I don't think that makes me nosy or on some moral high horse by saying you can't do it with the student. And if you're a congressman, you can't do it with the staffer. It sort of should be an unwritten rule, right? There's 335 million or whatever the number is now, million people in this country. Just this little pocket right here you can't have the affairs with. And these people can't and won't abide by that. Why? Because as we've said today, these positions are about power. They're about leverage. They're about control. They're about, look at me. I'm a teacher. I'm a congressman. I'm a mayor. I can do whatever I want. I'm powerful. So what we're talking about here, this is from Politico. Tony Gonzalez is this rep's name. He's a Republican from Texas. And he has now admitted for the first time that he had an affair, sexual relationship, according to Politico, with a former staff member who later killed herself. This was a gruesome death that this poor woman endured, lit herself on fire. It's a horrible, horrible thing. Now, Gonzalez is up for re-election. He is now facing a runoff because, as we talked about yesterday with Texas, they have this bizarre rule where the most votes doesn't win. You got to get 50% plus one. If you don't, then the taxpayers have to pay for a second election. And so he is now in an election. He went on this radio show, and he said on this radio show, he said, quote, "I made a mistake. I had a lapse in judgment, and there was a lack of faith, and I take full responsibility for those actions." Look, a mistake, there are lots of things that are mistakes. And it's not about whether the guy had an affair or not. We got into this with Thomas Carl Cook. You guys remember Thomas Carl Cook? He was Joe Hogsett's right-hand man, deputy mayor, gatekeeper to Joe Hogsett, architect of the Hogsett campaigns. And then all of this reporting from Indy Star, Mirror Indy came out about these alleged inappropriate relationships he was having with women who were subservient to him. And now the relationships basically allege, or the reporting basically alleges that he sort of forced himself onto these women using his position of power, these women who were in the government, et cetera, who didn't want this. And then allegedly they took it to Hogsett, and he didn't do anything about it. And then Mirror Indy and Indy Star did this big reporting on it. There are lots of things that are mistakes. But when you are in a position of power over someone, you know that. You know that. Like that should be automatic grounds for disqualification. If you are in the government and you have power over someone, and I'm not talking about like people who work in the government who are, equals, right? Or even somebody may be a manager, but they're in a completely different branch of government than somebody. I'm not talking about any of that. You guys know me. I am pretty much like, your marriage is your business. You do with it what you want unless it in some way affects me. Well, I'm a taxpayer. And so this affects me. Congressmen, no, from the moment they go in there, they have leverage over staffers. Those people see them as mentors. They see them as people to look up to. They see them as bosses. The way you're earning their income, their chance to elevate themselves up the ladder. There's no excuse for a congressman when you can have an affair with whoever you want. You can be with whoever you want, do whatever you want. There is no reason, whether it's a congressman, a senator, the president, to be having a sexual relationship with someone who is subservient to them. They should be immediately banned from the Congress. Now, the ethics committee or whatever they're called in the House is investigating Gonzalez. We'll see what they come up with. I think they can expel him from the House, but we'll see. But look, they're not going to do that because how many of these people are doing the same thing? How many of these people are doing the exact same thing? All right. I want to come full circle and finish up our program today, our time together, with where we started the show today. And that is talking about the Republicans' response to Greg Ballard running for Secretary of State. And as we're going to run in every program, we do it with the segment called Where Do We Go From Here? And this goes back to the old radio show I had. Somebody told me the other day, they said, man, that was my favorite part of that old show that you had, where you would end, we were together once a week for 2 hours, and then at the end, I'd just take the final few minutes and talk about where do we go from here? Because that's what's most important. How do you take the information that I gave you today, and how do you utilize it to educate others better? Because that's what this show is all about, right? We need it to spread from here. We need it to spread out. I need you to take this information that I give you and tell the masses. Can't tell everybody, right? I need you to grow this show. I need you to disseminate the information. And so we'll end every show, or try to end every show when we can, talking about a topic or two that we talked about during the show, and talk about what should you do with it. The Republicans' response to Greg Ballard running for Secretary of State is all you need to show people who are on the fence of whether this is a black hat, white hat society. It's not. Everybody wears the black hat in politics. Everybody wears the black hat in politics. The Republicans on their side are great at making you think that if they disappear, that if they lose elections, that somehow the Democrats will take over and it'll be some socialist pit of hell. And, well, if the Democrats got full control, they would do everything they can to implement socialism. But are the Republicans doing much different? Aren't they, for the most part, just as equally corrupt? Look at spending over the past 25, 30 years. Republicans far outpace the Democrats. Big government, big programs. And the Democrats do it on their side, too, right? Look at how they've manipulated people about ICE, about trying to get illegal immigrants out of the country. There are no white hats or black hats. That's why our slogan on this show is we dislike all of these people equally. Neither party is for you. And the Republicans are putting on full display who they are now with Greg Ballard getting in. Greg Ballard's entry and the Republicans' response to it is all you need to show people to convince them to think differently. To convince them that it's just a club, a big club, and we're not a part of it. that these parties are all about the same thing and it's about power and it's about power for them. They're not fighting for you. They're fighting for your life, for your family. They're fighting for themselves. The instantaneous turn on Greg Ballard, a guy who for decades was propped up as the gold standard of mayors about what the party should be, about red guy who can win in a blue city. By the way, who do you think would win in a blue city, by the way? Like, this is one of the things that's always fascinated me. Who the Republicans think they'd actually be able to get that could win in Indianapolis, certainly in a modern era. Look, a Greg Ballard type of person is all you're going to get if you ever get one again. Would it be better than Joe Hogshead? Absolutely. But for years, we were told the gold standard was Greg Ballard. And people like me who had objected to liberal policies, you don't get it, man. You don't get it. What else are you going to get in a blue city? You better just be thankful he's there. This is the big tent we should all be, trying to accomplish. This should be the big tent that we should all be trying to achieve, where we can win in the blue cities. That was the storyline. Those were the talking points up until yesterday. And then in a moment's notice, the Republicans flipped the script. Decades of narrative on Greg Ballard. Why? Because he threatens the Republican hierarchy. He threatens the Republican power structure. He threatens the Republican monopoly. Now, again, this is not an endorsement of Greg Ballard. It's not telling you to vote for Greg Ballard. But the Republicans are putting on full display exactly who they are. Exactly what I've been telling you for years and years on this show, which is these people are not your friends. It's the same reason they banned me from the Lincoln Day dinner. Same reason I was allowed to go to Lincoln Day dinner. Not because I'm not Republican enough. If anything, I'm too Republican. But I believe in holding these people accountable. I believe that if you're going to espouse something, if you're going to write it down, if you're going to put in your platform that you'll do it, then you should do it. And it doesn't make me a bad person for going, you're not living up to your end of the bargain. You're not following through on the things that you promised the people. You're not abiding by the bargain that you made. What'd that get me? It got me exiled. I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I have enough friends. I've said this for a long time. Producer Jason is my friend, and at the end of the day, that's all I really need. But these Republicans, look, there may be areas where you agree with them, and that's fine, right? There's many areas I do agree with them. And there may be areas where you say, hey, this is still the best person for me to vote for, and that's okay. That's great. But don't blindly vote for these people out of some sort of allegiance, some sort of loyalty, because they don't have any loyalty in return. They don't care about you. They'll turn on you in a second. They'll stab you in the back in a second. Instead of saying, what they did, which is basically that Greg Ballard's a carpetbagger, trying to accuse him potentially of voting illegally, turning on, he's a big government liberal. Well, welcome to the party. Do I get an apology for all the years that I was told to sit down and shut up when talking about Greg Ballard? All the Republicans would have had to do is say, we're confident in our ideas. We're confident in our candidate we're going to nominate. We're confident in the job that we're doing for the people of Indiana. And we're confident no matter how many independents or libertarians or whoever else is on the ballot, we're going to win because we deliver results. Did anybody say that? Did you catch anybody saying that? Great, I'm glad Greg Ballard's running. I'm glad more people are a part of the process. I'm glad more ideas are going to be out there. And we're confident we're going to win because we deliver results. No, they didn't. Because what are the results they've delivered? Nothing. Look at who their office holder is. A guy who runs around in a $90,000 car, hires his family members and gives them sweetheart deals to work in the office. Guy who no bid contracts to donors to his campaigns. Disappears to foreign countries for 10 days and won't tell you who paid for it. The list goes on and on with Diego Morales. We could spend a whole show probably talking about the issues with Diego Morales. The Republicans know what he is. But they're not going to speak out against him because the power is what matters most. Not the person. The entity. Owning the entity is what matters, because the entity and owning the entity is money and it's power for the party, and it's money and it's power for the politicians. They should be welcoming, the Republicans should be welcoming Greg Ballard with open arms, because more people in the process makes everybody better. If it were actually about governing and actually about serving you, Greg Ballard will make this race much better. He will make this race more interesting. And look, if the argument is, well, he's going to siphon votes off from Diego Morales, then that's a Diego Morales problem. I guarantee you Greg Ballard won't siphon off as many votes from David Shelton as he will Diego Morales. So the Republicans could do the right thing and not pick Diego. But the Republicans will likely pick Diego and then cry foul when Greg Ballard, quote unquote, takes votes from Diego. That's not Bo Bai's fault. That's not Bo Bai's problem. It's not a Greg Ballard problem either. Greg Ballard's job, if he wants to run for public office, is to run for public office. If he can get the signatures, the 37,000 or whatever the number is, and he can run for public office, then that's not a Greg Ballard problem. The people ripping on Ballard, being worse to Ballard than Diego, need to take a long look in the mirror. Because Greg Ballard has a lane because of the governance and the actions and the behaviors of Diego Morales. That is a Diego problem, and that is a Republican Party problem who refuses to hold him to account. In many ways, Greg Ballard is a hero in this, because maybe he will be the guy who finally holds Republicans accountable for their behavior. Maybe Greg Ballard's independent run, and if he is the guy that stops Diego Morales from re-election, will be the wake-up call that changes politics in this state. That finally makes the Republicans say, when we have these unaccountable clowns running around embarrassing us, embarrassing our government, embarrassing our people, we're going to speak up. Because nobody speaks up against Diego. Nobody speaks out against Diego. Oh, in private, they'll tell you. In private, they'll tell you all the bad things about Diego. Then you go, well, why don't you say something? Well, it's not really my lane. Yes, it is. It's all of our lanes. When people who are taking taxpayer money, who spend taxpayer money, are behaving badly, it is the obligation of all of us to speak up against them and speak out against them and hold them accountable, be they a local official, a state official, or a federal official. So where we go from here, where you hopefully will go from here today, is to use the public behavior of the Republicans, use the blatant hypocrisy of the Republicans, the disingenuous response of the Republicans, and show it to people. The same stuff that Diego's done that there hasn't been a word on, or worse stuff that Diego has done that there hasn't been a word on, they have made Greg Ballard public enemy number one over. They are showing you the mask is being pulled back. In times of crisis, in times of panic, the mask is pulled off and you see who these people are. That has been what my whole public life has been about. Trying to pull the mask back for you guys, for you to see it. That there are no white hats, that there are no black hats. They're all black hats. And our job is to hold them all accountable. So hopefully you will take what we did today and you will use that and you will show that to the public about who these people are. All right, a couple of closing announcements. Tomorrow's show is going to be a fun one. We're going to have James Briggs, scheduled to have James Briggs from Indy Star here. He's got this article out on Braun that we talked about today. He's got an article out on Diego and Ballard and the Republicans' response to Ballard that I think is interesting. We've got a bunch of guests lined up for you next week. Like, everything is a test, right? So when we had Merritt on today, we're like, well, we love Jim. And if we blow something up, he won't be mad if it breaks. And we didn't blow anything up. So we feel pretty good now. We can have the guests in. So we got guests that are going to start rolling in. Again, if you guys have guests you think we should have, I'd love to hear those in the YouTube chat, etc. We're going to start doing that. We want to make this a community. We want to grow this as a community. We want you to feel a part of the community. We want you to feel welcome here. And we are the community of ideas. You don't have to like us. You got to behave. But we welcome disagreement. We welcome free thought. We welcome ideas. That's what we're about here. This is your place to come. And we want you to bring your friends. It's always more fun, right? When you go out to a bar or whatever, you don't want to go by yourself. You want to be that guy. Don't be the guy in the bar that sits in the corner by himself. Bring your friends with you. Chat together. Have fun together. We are doing this for you guys, and you are awesome. Thank you to the people who have donated. You didn't have to do that. At robkendallshow.com, we got the donate button up there, robkendallshow.com. The donate button is up, and we would love for you guys, if you feel compelled to do that, great. God bless you. But we're not begging you for money. We're not like, hey, you gotta keep the shekels coming in or we're pulling the plug on everything. We just thought that would be the easiest way for people who had reached out and thought about that. Thought about giving or whatever. You're very, very much appreciated, and we feel very loved. Again, please, over the next day, if you can get people to subscribe to the channel, that's a huge help. We are headed over to Apple. We're headed over to Spotify. We're getting that stuff done. It's just, guys, I can't even begin to tell you. I know this seems like a small endeavor, how involved it is. It's basically like a 12-hour-a-day deal right now for Jason and myself, because it's a two-man operation. Now, we got some other people that are helping us who have been very kind, but by and large, it's a two-man operation. Like just the transcripts, the things on the website. It's all very involved, and we're trying to make it good for you. We're trying to not do this half-baked. Everything we do, we're putting love and effort and passion into it because we want you to be proud of us. We want you to be proud of this show. We got a new studio we're in the process of getting built out, and it'll be a few weeks before we get that done. All of this stuff is happening. So all the stuff takes time. We know it. We understand it. I mean, just like the stuff with the audio, it's a tinkering, right? And I think we got that all figured out. And you guys are a huge part of that. But every little thing, it's learning from the ground up. There's not a team of engineers. There's not a slew of people who can put on something. Just little things behind the scenes that you guys never see that an issue will pop up. Hey, it takes 30 minutes to solve. Not a big deal to most people. Well, there's only so many hours in the day, right? If it takes time to do that, then we can't be over here doing this. So it's all just from the ground up, and we appreciate your patience, and we appreciate you guys being a part of us. So if you can really help us out by trying to get some people to subscribe to that channel. We're past 1,400. That's awesome. We need to do better. I feel like I'm some basketball coach barking at you guys, but it really will help us. It's the way we can leverage this into better things, into bigger growth, into more people. So even if it's just one person you can send an email to or a text message to, even if they don't like me and don't want to watch, hey, subscribe to that channel. Just ignore the notifications. We're all going to grow this together. We're all going to do this together. Again, I want to thank producer Jason doing his usual outstanding job. You have no idea the effort Jason has put into this, the work he's put into this. He is, he's many things, but a gift from above is certainly one of them. I want to thank Chris Spangle as well. He has enabled us to be able to use his space, leadersandlegends.net. If you'd like to learn about what they do, Chris is awesome. You guys know him from his years on Bob and Tom. He's doing great media work now. He has been so helpful in terms of getting us off the ground and making suggestions and allowing us to use his space until our space gets built out. Chris, he's been dedicated to great government for years and years and years. So we really do want to mention him, leadersandlegends.net. If you want to learn more about the work he does freelancing work. He can podcast for you. Just learn about them at leadersandlegends.net. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up today. God bless you guys. Again, we'll be live tomorrow on Twitter before the show at Rob M. Kendall. Don't miss those live videos over there. Please give me a follow if you can. We do the Facebook Lives as well, profiles public, so you guys can see those things. And that's it. Thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. You've been watching Rob Kendall Show.